you have Tyson Barrie, who signed a 1 year contract last year, and now he's a free agent again. Plus, you have to decide on Adam Larsson. What are the Oilers thinking when it comes to Barrie, Larsson, and I guess by extension, Oscar Klefbom, if he can't play this coming year?
Well, I think Klefbom is kind of left the Oilers in limbo. If he was to tell Ken Holland, my shoulder's coming along great, he says, I've been able to do some stuff, then Ken would say, okay, good, then I don't even have to look for a left shot defenseman, in terms of free agency. But I'm sure that's not what he's going to tell him. There's a better chance he tells him, look, I got to get to training camp, I got to go through camp, I got to play some games, see how the shoulder pans out. So Ken is kind of in, does he, if he goes out and signs a left shot defenseman and he ends up paying him, $4 million a year or something, and then all of a sudden Klefbom can play, then he's got Klefbom and he's got the $4 million signing, and then he's also got Darnell Nurse, who he has to buck up for next year when he's an unrestricted free agent. So I think they certainly need either a healthy Oscar Klefbom behind Darnell Nurse or another defenseman who can eat up minutes and is mid-20s, I'd say, to take some of the heat off Darnell, who can't be playing. Every game he played this year, he played over 20 minutes. And, fifth most minutes in the NHL in terms of minutes. He can't play that many minutes night after night after night. They need a more experienced second pairing left shot defenseman. Hopefully that would be Klefbom. But like I said, what are the odds? You can't tell the odds right now. You can't say, it's 50-50 even. I would say right now it's 25-75 with the surgery he had, which is major surgery, whether he'd be back. So in Ken's case, I'm sure he's looking at left shot defenseman, but I don't know how much he's willing to spend for a left shot defenseman. And in terms of Barrie and Larsson, I think Larsson is a player they need more than Tyson Barrie. I think they don't have anybody like Adam Larsson coming who shoots right. I think I would have thought they'd have him signed by now, to be honest. I would have thought they'd have him signed for 3 or 4 years at a marginal raise over what he was making before, 4.1, and away they go. But that hasn't happened, and I don't know, because the Oilers aren't saying. I suspect they looked at Chris Tanev's contract in Calgary, where they signed him a year ago, and they're the same player, really. Right shot defenseman, almost identical stats. They don't score a lot of goals. They're shutdown defensemen, and Tanev got $4.5 million a year for 4 years in Calgary, and he's older than Adam Larsson. So maybe Adam's agent, J.P. Barrie, is saying, hold on a second here. I know that Adam wants to play here, but I think that's comparable as 4.5, not 4 million. So let's put the brakes on this until we can work some common ground here.
Going back to what you said about, potentially replacing Klefbom, and the wish list being, a defenseman who's in his mid-20s who can play second pairing type minutes and is a left shot. I mean, that's not somebody you're going to sign in free agency. That's something that on the trade market, wouldn't it be?
Yes. The most obvious left shot defenseman who is available in a trade is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I don't think he'll be back in Arizona. And, last year he had a 2-team wish list that he would go and play for. One of those teams was Boston, and it didn't turn out. He just wanted too much money. I think this year he's willing to expand it a little bit. I don't think the Oilers are going to get him because I think he makes too much money. And he's also approaching 30. And he makes a lot of money. He's got lots of term left in his contract, and it's very high. So I don't see that happening. But you're right. There's not a lot of teams willing to trade you a defenseman. And I don't know where Darnell Nurse is kind of an in-between player. He obviously gave the Oilers some offense last year, so he's not your typical offensive defenseman. And he's not a shutdown defenseman either. But he does play against the other team's best players. He's kind of an all-around defenseman. So in that second pairing, do the Oilers need a left shot Adam Larsson? Or do they need an offensive defenseman? Because they would theoretically have a young Evan Bouchard coming. do they need an offensive defenseman in the second pairing, or more of a shutdown defenseman? So I guess it's, like I said, there's more of a market right now for wingers than there are for left shot defensemen. There's not a lot of them around.
When you think about this past season, I mean, obviously the Oilers exited the playoffs extremely early. Few people would have expected that. But when you think about the regular season, it wasn't all that long ago when we were talking about how Tyson Barrie was exactly the kind of blue liner this team has been wanting for years, if not decades. I mean, being able to be that power play quarterback who is a threat off the blue line. I mean, never mind. And then you think about Nurse. I mean, obviously this is the first time he's been, in the past he has filled in when Clefbaum has been injured and been the big minute guy. But all of his offense comes 5-on-5. The Oilers need that, don't they?
They need an offensive defenseman. And then I think if Tyson Barrie was willing to take a 3-year contract at between $5.5 and $6 million, I think the Oilers would sign him. They don't want to block Evan Bouchard. Let's put it this way. He's an offensive defenseman who they see running a power play in the NHL. So they don't want to sign Tyson Barrie for 5 years and then never give Bouchard a chance on the power play, which is where he's really good. Other than Dougie Hamilton, who could get traded by Carolina and is on the market, Tyson Barrie would probably be the fallback for a lot of teams. If you can't get Dougie Hamilton in a trade, then you're going to go for Tyson Barrie as an offensive defenseman. So somebody's going to give him a 5-year contract. It won't be the Edmonton Oilers, I don't think. So if you're asking if he's going to be back, I don't think so, unless he wants to take a shorter-term contract. And then, it falls back in the end. Okay, if Tyson Barrie leaves, maybe they need a left-shot offensive defenseman. I keep looking at Evan Bouchard, and I know the fans, they want him to play right now. They want him to play lots of minutes. I see him as the same player that the New York Islanders have in their third pairing, and that's Noah Dobson, who runs their power play but plays 12, 13 minutes a game. They have their top 4 defensemen, and they're breaking Dobson in slowly. So he's a top 4, but right now he's not. That's how I think the Oilers should do with Bouchard. Tell him he's playing every night, and he's going to get power play time, but he's between 12 and 14 minutes a game until he proves that defensively he can play 17, 18 minutes a night. So, but you don't want to block a guy who's already played 2 years of pro, 1 year in the American League, 1 year in Sweden, and then you had him. He's a first-round draft choice. I don't think you want to block him with Tyson Barrie in a long-term contract, five years or so.
Yeah, I just think back to 3 months ago, whether that was like sometime in March when Tyson Barrie was lighting it up, and everybody said this is the defenseman the Oilers absolutely need. I mean, the Oilers had the top power play in the league, so whether that's Tyson Barrie or obviously McDavid and Draisaitl are the straws that stir the drink there. Having that option in Barrie obviously paid big dividends in the regular season.
It did, and he got slagged for his defensive ability. He's not an analytics darling by any stretch. Feeling he gets almost all of his points on the power play and too many secondary assists, not the primary assists. Although I don't know what they're watching. Most times the defenseman passes it to a forward who passes it to another forward for a goal in the power play. It's unless the defenseman takes a shot and there's a rebound. That's the first assist. So I thought that the tell for Oiler fans should have been in the last game against the Winnipeg Jets, where Darnell Nurse played over 60 minutes, and Tyson Barrie, I think he played about 45. So he played a ton of minutes, and he was very good in that last game. And I know they tried to, the feeling is that he's not big and you can push him off a puck defensively, but that didn't happen. And I think what they're going to miss with Tyson Barrie is a good first pass out of the Oiler end. He's very adept at ducking a check and moving the puck up the ice, and I think they'll miss that.